Today is Thanksgiving, the day most of you lose control of yourselves as you begin to devour an excessive amount of food. Unfortunately for you, today you will not be with your families arguing over who is getting the dark or white meat of a genetically modified poultry. No, tonight you have to file paperwork, be on call for potential threats around the globe, and of course, attend this evening's lecture. This is my first day on the job and I have to miss Thanksgiving dinner to listen to this? As I look around this room, it would seem we have a lot of new faces with us today, so allow me to introduce myself. Greetings. My name is Dr. Sanchez, and I have been appointed by the O5 Council to host weekly debriefings regarding the SCP threats we have at this facility. What's he talking about? I mean, there's one of those SCP thingies that I met that was really cute and cuddly. Excuse me. Operative, you are being rude and disrespectful. Womp womp, oh well. Please state your name, Operative. My name is Naddison. My friends call me Nads. Naddison, do not mistake my calm demeanor for weakness. I will not tolerate foolish behavior during my lecture. Did you just roll your eyes at me? I'll be contacting your commanding officer. Perhaps they will station you with Trisher in the SCP Waste Management Department. Too bad so sad. Now are you going to stare at me, or are you going to try to convince me about these so-called threats? I mean, seriously, they can't be all that bad. Very well, Miss Naddison. You are correct in stating that not every entity is considered an active threat to humanity. However, I will tell you about 3 entities that we have here that will make you rethink your position. Apologies, everyone. Allow me to begin. In today's lecture, I'll be discussing 3 of our recent acquisitions. They have been classified by the SCP-Z identification. The first SCP we'll be discussing is SCP-Z-018. Object Class, Keter. Description: SCP-Z-018 is an anthropomorphic feline. Oh, a kitty! I guess you can say that. Anyways, the entity is 3 feet in height, has gray fur, and has a few peculiar traits to say the least. What do you mean? What could be so strange about a cat? It likes to wear clothing, but only if it is yellow. An operative tried giving it a pink shirt, but the entity was not satisfied. SCP-Z-018 made the operative disappear. Wait. Hold on for a second. What do you mean by disappear? Well, you see, this will fall under those peculiar traits that I was attempting to discuss. The entity seems to be into astronomy. The clothing it wears needs to have an image of a moon, stars, or other celestial bodies or galactic designs. It wears a crescent moon-shaped earring on its left ear, and its tail seems to give the entity supernatural abilities. The end of its tail is shaped like a crescent moon and star, and when it is using its abilities, a purple shining light emits from the end of the tail. Let's stop referring to it as entities or by its identification number. Instead, let's call it Moonshine, because of it wearing a moon earring and because its tail shines when it uses magic. You sound just like O5 Council member Mr. Tennyson. He too enjoys giving the entities names. Perhaps it would be easier to go with the name you suggested. It does seem rather fitting. Yeah, I know. I'm really good at this kind of stuff. Duly noted. Containment procedure. Moonshine will be kept in a standard containment cell. It will have access to water, food, and a bed. The walls are aligned with power dampeners to prevent any further disturbances. If the Foundation has magic dampeners, how can Moonshine pose a threat? I was getting there. Womp womp, hurry up, I want to know. Agents will be allowed to deliver food to Moonshine, but may not engage with it physically. This includes, but is not limited to, head patting, scratching behind the ears, touching its paws, and more. The reason relates to the night it was captured. You really know how to drag a story out. Event. Moonshine is seemingly harmless at first glance. A man who was down on his luck found Moonshine near a bus stop. He petted the cat unfazed by its appearance, and his negative thoughts poured into Moonshine. Moonshine latched onto the man's desires to get revenge on his boss who fired him. It made the man's former employer appear before him, and the entity killed him. Whoa! Now you understand. Moonshine's power is dangerous. Can you imagine if a young girl was just dumped by her crush? Just imagine what Moonshine would do. Now that you understand about this entity, allow me to continue with the next file. The next entity is not for the faint of heart. It is one that we were able to secure at the beginning of the month. I am referring to SCP-Z-113. Object Class, Euclid. Description: this entity does not have a finite form. It has no identifiable physical features to speak of. It generally holds the form of an orange gelatinous being. It has an abnormal obsession with faces, in addition to... Hold on. You can't just gloss over obsession with faces. What do you mean by that? Well, this entity has no face and will steal the face of others. Okay, I got it. Faceless. Let's call this SCP Faceless. This may not be the most creative name, but it is quite accurate. Containment Procedure. Faceless will be held in a concrete cell. There will be no reflective surfaces of any kind, and no operatives will be allowed to enter the containment cell. The previous operative that entered the containment cell had their face removed from his head, and Faceless grew the face on its body. The face was able to speak with the same voice as the operative and make several facial expressions. The blood that was pooled to the floor was absorbed by Faceless, adding to its quote-unquote wings, for lack of a better word, that droop from its tendrils. If it can steal faces, how did the Foundation capture it? Event. Faceless was located at a mall. I can't imagine he was there for Sephora. I will ignore that comment. Faceless came out of a faucet in the girls' washroom. The first civilians entering the washroom were all murdered on sight. Faceless then proceeded to exit the washroom and entered the heavily congested mall. How many? How many lives? Roughly 83. Using its tendrils, it was able to latch onto the civilians and remove their faces. When the Foundation arrived on the scene, they were geared up from head to toe in our latest field uniforms, which included a helmet with a matted finish and no visible visor. Meaning their faces were all covered. Precisely. Faceless attempted to steal their faces, but could not. When the being became frustrated, however, we did discover that it develops a creepier extremity. The goo-like body changes to a black substance. Inside the substance, I believe, is the entity's true form. It is human-like, with blood running down its eyes. The operatives were able to contain Faceless by using a mechanism attached to a hose to suck it into a portable containment pod. Okay, I think I'm gonna have nightmares now. Then allow us to move on to the next entity. The final entity we will be discussing today is SCP-Z-381. Object Class, Keter. Description: SCP-Z-318 is a miniature bipedal wooden entity that is approximately 2 feet in height. However, this entity can absorb more wood into its body, allowing its limbs to grow to yet undiscoverable lengths. Its head is a round sphere with a berry and a snail shell oddly placed where we believe its eyes should be. Though this is only speculation, we believe the entity can see its surroundings using the berry and snail shell. It wears a grassy top hat adorned with fungi and leaves. It also wears a mossy scarf around its neck. SCP-Z-318 has 4 sharp fingers that, after careful analysis, are determined to be a combination of white birch and iron. The entity is noted as having bioluminescent properties. The leaves and fungi that adorn its grassy top hat, as well as the mossy scarf and white birch fingers, glow a greenish hue at night. The glow seems to glow brighter during a full moon. Little guy made of wood, favors plants. This one's a tough one. From the picture, it looks like it's a possessed voodoo doll. You know what? I got it. Voodoo Sprite. I thought you would have arrived at woody or mossy. Voodoo Sprite sounds more intriguing. Yeah, I know. Containment Procedure. Voodoo Sprite will be held in a windowless cement cell. Furniture in the cell will also be made of cement to prevent Voodoo Sprite from absorbing any traces of wood. This is obviously a preventative for allowing it to grow and escape. Operatives may turn on the heat lamps installed in the room for 1 hour a day, provide it with water through the sprinkler system in the ceiling, and pump carbon dioxide through the ventilation system installed in the cell, so Voodoo Sprite can undergo photosynthesis and thereby receive its nourishment. The oxygen this entity expels can be absorbed and used to fill the oxygen tanks needed by our operatives who try to capture and contain water entities. This one seems a little different from the others. Besides being able to absorb wood, which would make it become a giant wooden voodoo doll, what else is dangerous about it? Allow me to explain. Event. In a nearby village in El Salvador, there is a warning that parents tell their children about not going into the woods at night. In this village, sounds could always be heard coming from the woods at night. Sounds that the villagers knew were not coming from the animals residing there. On the night of a full moon, several babies and young children disappeared from the village. The cries of these children were heard throughout the entire village, and not one of them went into the woods to search. Luckily for us, an operative stationed in the village went in to find the source of the crying. When he reached an opening in the woods, he noticed something odd. The trees formed a circle, and not a single tree was in the middle of this circle. The operative was able to make out the children and Voodoo Sprite. Voodoo Sprite began to glow and touch the children, who seemed to be in a deep trance. As Voodoo Sprite touched the children, they began to change into monstrous creatures. What the Sigma? The new grotesque forms left the children in an animalistic state. We were able to capture them and study them to see if we can discover a way to reverse the effects. For right now, we can only wait and see. Okay, Dr. Sanchez, I guess you're right about the dangers of these entities. Maybe I can ask my dad if it's okay if we can work together a little more. This way I can learn more about these SCPs. Your father? Who is your father? Oh, I guess I forgot to mention. My dad sits on the O5 Council. His name is Benjamin Tennyson. That would explain a lot. Apologies, everyone. This concludes the lecture for today. If you wish to learn more about the SCP entities we house at this foundation or others across the globe, be sure to file your requests in writing and place them in the suggestion box below. This is Dr. Sanchez bidding you farewell and a happy Thanksgiving. Good night. Well, I hope you all enjoyed this episode. Let's give a special shout out to those submissions that were picked for today's episode. Thank you to Emmy for your moonshine submission. Loved your magical cat idea. There was no name on the faceless submission, but I hope you like the way that one turned out. And thanks to SlyFox007 for your Voodoo Sprite submission. I really hope you like the way that I digitally painted it instead of illustrating it like I normally do. I'll announce the next Community Redraw sometime next month. This will give me enough time to complete a few projects that I'm working on. So until then, I'm Drawing with Mr. S, and I'll see you in the next video. Y'all take care of yourselves. Have a good one. Bye.